Just when you thought Justin Trudeau's Liberals couldn't get any more tyrannical, here they are.
The best thing we can do to honor the memories of those we lost in mass shootings is to act on gun control.
Wrong. Actually, the best thing you could do is be a government that tries to actively pursue justice instead of letting criminals walk free on the streets and allowing Canada to become rife with crime because of your weak policies towards vile men and women who would dare trespass against natural law, against laws that are foundational to society. That would be a good way to honor the memory of those whose lives were lost, but no, this government doesn't do that. No, it does something entirely opposite, preferring instead to pursue these socially just policies that punish law-abiding citizens for doing what's right and for keeping the law, while allowing criminals to keep working as they have been working. Brutal.
And to restrict access to the very weapons used to commit these horrible crimes.
Right. So again, you can restrict access to anything under that logic, right? You can restrict access to pencils if you so choose. You could restrict access to forks and to steak knives and to any other piece of equipment that can be used for any nefarious purpose.
Our goal is to ensure that no community, no family is devastated by mass shootings in Canada again.
That's wrong. Actually, their goal is to completely disarm Canadians so that there is no way to stand up to government and to protect your property. That is, of course, what a firearm is used for. It is a symbol, a demonstration that your property is yours. It's not the government's. People just can't come up onto your property and take what they please without consequence. That isn't the way a functioning society works. That's the way a devastated society works. And so no one has anything. There is no property in those societies. And so who cares how you live? What, are you going to pursue excellence in such a state? You can't. Of course not, because someone else will just come and take it. What is government trying to do here? It's trying to disarm its citizens so that the citizens' ability to defend itself from brutal government policies and tactics like what the Liberal government does is defeated. It's a sinister, sinister objective on the Liberal government's part.
That's why today, as Rachel said, we're building on the historic advances we've made since 2015 by taking further action. Today, the government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately.
Yeah, that'll solve the problem. Yeah, criminals will just follow the law now. That's good. Now that the new ban, there's another ban in effect, well, thank heavens. Criminals will they'll stop doing what's wrong.
This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances. Les 324
Okay, so the logic here from the Liberal government's position is that, well, if we increase all of this weapon control, all of these problems, all of these mass destructive shootings will decrease. But it's like, look at the data. So Trudeau comes into power here. This is a graph that shows the number of homicide victims by method used to commit the homicide from StatsCan. Now, I've put it from the year 2000, but we'll look at from when Trudeau came into power. 2015, 155 homicides by shooting in 2015, okay? Then the Liberal government decides to increase, or 181 shootings. Then the Liberal government decides to increase the amount of control they exercise. And look, increase, huge increase. What's going on? It's almost as if the Liberal government policy of banning these weapons to make all of these homicides committed by guns decrease isn't working. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Et à la suite d'une consultation robuste avec l'Ottawa aujourd'hui, The government has introduced an amnesty that is currently in force and expires on October 30th, 2025, to protect individuals who legally purchased these firearms prior to the ban. This amnesty period will protect these individuals from criminal liability as they take steps to come into compliance with the law. During the amnesty period, there is an exception to allow Indigenous peoples exercising a right under Section 35 of the Constitution, as well as those who use firearms for sustenance hunting, to continue to use their now prohibited firearms to hunt, if previously non-restricted, until a suitable replacement can be found. As with the previous list of firearms, these models will, of course, be part of the assault-style firearms compensation program. And to that end, I'm pleased to point out that the pilot program of phase 1 of the gun buyback program is now underway. The program will be open for all businesses in the coming days. As part of that process, the Government of Canada has committed to the Ukrainian government to identify whether some of these guns could be donated to support the fight for democracy in Ukraine.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The Liberal government is proving what everyone already knows. On the one hand, the Liberals say, you don't need a weapon to protect yourself. Here in Canada, you're protected. You're safe. You don't need a weapon to protect yourself. Weapons are bad. On the other hand, they go, we're going to give your weapons to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. What? On the one hand, they say you don't need weapons to defend yourself. On the other hand, they say we need to give them to the Ukrainians to defend themselves. Can you imagine the lack of logic? And then, of course, the Liberals will say, well, yeah, but we're not in the same position as the Ukrainians. They need that because they're fighting a war over on the Eastern Bloc. And it's like, oh, maybe having the weapon in the first place is a beneficial deterrent to ensuring that governments like this one don't try and invade on their citizens' rights more than they already are right now. Of course, the government hates that idea. They want to be free to do whatever they want. They hate it when there is a check and balance on their power. And so, of course, they want to take our weapons away. You don't need them, they say. We'll keep you safe. Yeah, right. No, thank you. We'd prefer to keep ourselves safe.
My colleague Bill Blair will speak on this in a few moments. In addition to banning these guns, we're also taking action on the regulatory front. Next Friday, December 13th, we will table regulations to ensure that no firearm can come into Canada or be sold in Canada without first being approved by the RCMP.
Once again, fantastic, because all of those criminals go through the proper checks and balances. Fantastic. So glad. That'll clean up the streets. That'll clean up the streets. Yeah, you target law-abiding citizens with policies like these, and the criminals will follow. Totally insane. Totally insane idea.
And no later than the end of January, we will table additional measures in Parliament to address the rates of gun violence in situations of gender-based and intimate partner violence. We will also introduce further regulations on red and yellow flag laws early this spring, and regulations on large capacity magazines no later than March.
Okay, so this policy is asinine because it is a direct assault against the property rights of Canadians, which are already too few to begin with. It's a direct assault against the ability for a Canadian to say, this is mine, it's not yours, and you can't do with it as you please, precisely because it is mine and not yours. That's what the right to carry a method of self-defense is. It's a demonstration of the existence of property rights in the nation. But when you have a socialist government like this, and make no mistake, they are radical socialists, like look at Stephen Guilbeault, for example. We know that they want to do everything they can to destroy property rights, what little property rights there are, Because in a socialist world, there is no property. There can't be property. There is no such thing as saying that is yours and this is mine. That would imply ownership. That would imply capitalism, that evil word. No, instead, the socialist says everything is everybody's. No one owns anything. And so if no one owns anything, there's no reason to have a weapon because there's no such thing as stealing. It's not yours to begin with. It's not the other guy's either. It's just all of ours to share. This is a wicked policy, evil policy.
De plus, nous allons réunir, viendront avec leurs recommandations, son pouvoir.
Remercier et de reconnaître que nous sommes évidemment accompagnés par le sous-commissaire Brian Larkin de la GRC, Deputy Commissioner Brian Larkin of the RCMP, who has worked tirelessly to get us to this day, our Minister of National Defense.
So here's Bill Blair talking about Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is a very important day, and I wanted to acknowledge Natalie, Suzanne, Wendy, and people I know who have worked so tirelessly on trying to make Canada a safer place for all of us. And as we mark a very important and solemn anniversary tomorrow, I hope it increases all of our collective resolve to continue to do what is required. As my colleague, Minister LeBlanc, has indicated, we've been working very closely with our friends in Ukraine to ensure that weapons that were intended to be used in combat could be made available to them. And since Russia's brutal and unjustified invasion of Ukraine, Canada has and continues to make every effort to support our Ukrainian allies in their fight to defend their territory, their sovereignty, their citizens, and to win this war. And since 2015...
Weird. I thought Canadians supposedly elected this government for Canada, not for some other nation across the world. You know, we're so sick and tired of our governments saying we're going to help out so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, everywhere else except for here at home. So here's Bill Blair talking about how, we have to enable the Ukrainians to defend themselves. Do you Canadians want to defend yourselves should the need ever arise? Praying it doesn't? Nope. We don't want you to have that right. But someone else far across the world who isn't going to come after us, the government, can have that right. Stunning hypocrisy.
Canada has committed over $19 billion worth of aid and support to Ukraine, including $4.5 billion worth of lethal and non-lethal military equipment. The Ukraine security forces have been very clear about the resources, support, and equipment that they need most. And we have always listened to them and tailored our donations to best meet those needs. And just this past October, we reached out to the Ukrainians once again to see whether any of the weapons that are currently under amnesty through Canada's assault-style firearms compensation program could be of any use to them in their fight against Russia. And they confirmed that indeed, some of the weapons that are part of the program would be suitable. And so I'm pleased today in joining in this announcement to announce also that the Department of National Defense will begin working with the Canadian companies that have weapons that Ukraine needs and which are already eligible for the assault-style firearm compensation program in order to get these weapons out of Canada and into the hands of the Ukrainians.
This is a slap in the face to Canadians. My word. Stunning. Stunning how offensive this is. Unbelievable hypocrisy. I don't even know what to say. Like this is so egregious. This policy is such a disgrace to all Canadians, all law-abiding Canadians who are careful to defend their property and defend their home, that it doesn't even warrant a response. What a disgrace. That's the response. What a disgraceful government we have, eager to ensure that Canada and Canadians can't stand up for what's theirs and just bow, roll over when government comes marching into our homes.